Father, we do ask for a lot from you. From the very breath that we take, to the decisions that we make, to the lives that we are responsible for. We ask for your wisdom. We ask for your power. And Lord, we ask for your discernment and your courage to follow it. May things be done in a godly way, because godliness brings great things to the believer and non-believers, but ungodliness brings suffering to all. So may you be honored in all that we say, think, and do. And may you bless the city of Tullahoma and all who dwell in it. In Jesus' name, amen. Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Jones. Tonight we have with us, we need to have our city recorder to call the roll.
Almacher. Barry.
Here.
Glick.
Here.
Noes.
Here.
Mann.
Here.
Mathis.
Here.
Wilson.
Five present. This evening we have with us also an honorary alderman, Mr. Chase Cox, who is sitting at our honorary alderman table. Mr. Cox, a little later on we'll call on you to give us a little background on yourself and what's going on with high school. Also tonight we have some lovely people in the audience that we want to recognize that have participated in the Miss Tullahoma pageant. And as I call your name, if you would please come up in front of the flag and we'll get a picture of the winners of that. So as I call your name, just come on up. And for Miss Tullahoma, it's Pazelle Lowe. Ms. Lowe, please come forward. Following her will be Miss Junior Miss Tullahoma, Harper Hill. And then Little Miss Tullahoma, Reagan Blazer. So if you join me there, I'd like to present these certificates to you. What a lovely group. Ms. Gazelle. And Ms. Harper. And Ms. Brazier. This whole certificate is bigger than you are. Hold it up. Proud. Turn your head away. What a lovely group, and you represent us in Tullahoma so well. So thank you for being here tonight. Tonight we do have a large crowd and we have an opportunity for comments from citizens. So all citizens will be invited to speak for up to 3 minutes about any matter that's within the purview of the board. So please speak into the microphone by stating your name and address. So if you're not planning to speak somewhere else, as some of the nonprofits will be, or other things in the beer board, for instance, so if you're not somewhere else on the agenda, you're certainly welcome for 3 minutes to speak now. Please come to the podium, state your name. Does anyone want to address the board? No, we've closed the...
Shaylin Sieg. She signed it.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. My name is Shaylin Sieg. My address is 733 Chapel Road, and I am a resident of Tullahoma. I have come before you because I realized our town is gone through a travesty. With the recent passing of an infant that was completely preventable, and we've had multiple infants pass in the last several years in this town that have been fully preventable. So I have suggested that we put in a Safe Haven Baby Box in the fire station. The Safe Haven Baby Box will provide a place for families to anonymously place their infant up to 2 weeks old to be put into care by the firefighters, which will be put into a foster system. The good thing about this is it will take these kids and it will give them somewhere safe. And typically infants that are placed in Safe Haven Baby Boxes are adopted and put in their forever homes within 30 to 45 days. The Safe Haven Baby Boxes typically have a baby placed in them between every 10 to 20 days. On average, in America, a baby is abandoned every 3 days, which is crushing. And the closest place anywhere around here we have to help these families and these babies who have no voice to speak for themselves is either in Knoxville or in Alabama, which is just too far. So I'm asking that y'all would go ahead and vote to put through the Safe Haven Baby Box. I have a petition, and between digital and physical signatures, we have 142 people saying that they think this is a good idea, this is something worth value, because these people are worth value. These little tiny helpless human beings have so much value and so much potential, and they need help, and they need y'all's help to make this happen. And I think Tullahoma, we can do it, we should do it. It is our God-ordained duty to protect little ones. And I can't stand to see another innocent life lost, because there's something we can do. And we can't save the last two that have passed, but we can do something about the next. And we can do something to give these babies homes and families and futures and lives, and they can change the world. So I'm asking that y'all would pass this through. I'm challenging y'all to pass this through. It's something that is so important, has so much value, just like all the people here. Every life here is so valuable and so loved, and is a life that God has put on this planet for a reason. So I would ask that y'all would make the choice to save a life.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention tonight. I believe it's on our agenda tonight as well, so thank you again.
And then I have the
Might leave
petitions
that
here.
with our city administrator. And thank you again. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board that anything's not is under the purview of the board? Now we'll close the public hearing, or the comments from citizens, excuse me. And we'll move on into the agenda tonight. We have a fairly lengthy agenda, so we'll get to it. I'd like to get a motion for the approval of the agenda. Got a motion from Mann, seconded by Barry. Any questions on the agenda? Now we're ready to vote. Approve the agenda.
Mayor, I've got a quick.
Recognize?
No, not going to add anything. But after we approve the agenda, if everybody is here for the beer board, we have one of Tullahoma's finest who has to wait until that's done. If we could move that to the top so that she could do what she needs to do and go.
Your motion is to move the beer board.
Is to adjourn
the
after,
agenda.
yeah, after we approve the agenda, adjourn, do the beer board, and then come back in.
Okay. We'll approve the agenda, and we'll adjourn and have the board hearing. Okay? We'll vote on the agenda as amended. It passes 5-0. So at this time, we will adjourn the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting and move directly into the beer board hearing. Wherever that is. In your packet, that'd be on page 273. Okay. Guess I'm going to essentially turn the hearing that we're going to have for the beer board over to... We'll do the consent agenda for the beer board first. And we do have a motion from Barry and seconded by Mann on the beer board agenda. All ready to vote on the beer board agenda? That passes 5-2. At this time, I'm going to turn the proceedings over to our attorneys. Mr. Giffen, you're in charge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the first matter on the beer board is the matter involving Gaya Tribin Patel pertaining to Brothers Market located on 735 Clement Avenue. I'd ask for Officer Jessica Taylor to come forward. Would you state your name for the board, please?
Jessica Taylor,
And what is your position, ma'am?
investigator.
And you work for the Tullahoma Police Department, is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Back on March the 9th of 2024, did you have an opportunity to conduct a minor compliance check at Brothers Market located on 735 Clement Drive here in Tullahoma?
Yes, sir.
And did you do that in conjunction with the TABC?
Yes, sir.
If you would tell the board, please, what happened.
We did a minor
Could
compliance
you
check.
speak into the microphone, please,
Yes.
for the...
We did a minor compliance check in conjunction with TABC. When we went to Brothers Market, the minor that we were with went inside with one of the TABC agents and purchased an alcoholic beverage and was sold the alcoholic beverage without being asked for ID.
Thank you.
And you witnessed this, is that correct?
Yes, we went,
You saw there was they never made any request for any ID, is that right?
that's correct.
And you issued a citation as a result of that?
Yes, sir.
And they're scheduled to be in court in the General Sessions Court of Coffee County on April the 25th, is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you. Would you step aside?
Okay.
Could I ask Mr. Gaya Tribin Patel to come forward? And, Ms. Patel, let me ask you, do you have a copy of your responsible vendor certification? Or have you participated in that program?
Yes, I do.
No.
They do not? You don't have that? Okay. All right. That's the only question I have of you then. Thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of the board, that's our proof on this matter there. I believe it would be appropriate for the board to entertain a motion with regard to the violation on that. The issue in terms of the sanction for the violation would be a question of it being a first offense. Under our code, if you have participated in the responsible vendor training program for off-premises sales conducted by the TABC, then under our city code, the board would be limited to just a fine only of up to $1,000. If they have not done that, then it's at the board's discretion as to how to handle this matter. But in the alternative, the board can offer them the opportunity to pay a fine of up to $1,500, which has to be paid within 7 days.
Thank you. Need a motion from the board? Motion from Mr. Berry, second from Mr. Mathis. And the motion is establish a fine at this point, or some ruling.
Yes, I have a question. Can you talk about the responsible vendor program and what that entails?
It's a program through the state of Tennessee, but it's done by a third-party vendor that, I think it's about $75 for 25 clerks to be trained, a yearly fee.
Can we, and it may be a question for you or the attorney, can we assess a fine and require them to go through the responsible vendor training, and once that's been completed, then they're allowed to sell alcohol again?
I think it's up to the discretion of the board. And I think that we could ask them to go through responsible vendor training. I don't know that we can require that.
Can we require that?
I believe, as the mayor said, I think it's at the board's discretion on that. I certainly think you could make that request, but, the alternative is, you have the right to suspend their license up to a period of, whatever time you deem appropriate, or in the alternative, assess that fine. This is a first offense situation. You may wish to ask them if they would do that as part of, and have a more lenient finding by the board, should you so desire. But I do think that's probably within your discretion.
Can the attorney tell me, or the board, what fines or what penalties have been lodged in the past for a similar occurrence? I know it hasn't happened in a long time that I've seen.
And given that I'm a fill-in for Mr. Worsham, and have not been at the city board meetings on that, I cannot tell you. I have no firsthand knowledge as to what the beer board has done in the past.
Okay. I know there are kind of some aggravating circumstances in this, as at least I see, that first of all, they didn't participate in the safe vendor program, which would have been a good thing for them to do, and also they didn't come to the first hearing that they were ordered to come to as well. So when we're making our decision on what to do, I think those things ought to be taken in consideration.
This is tough, right? And I know it's just the first offense, but it's also that's just the first time that maybe do we know how many checks we've done in the past? Is this the first one that we've done?
I believe this is the first one that I've done that I've been a part of, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I've been here 5 years, and so I know that it is just the first offense, but I would make a motion that we assess a fine of $1,500, and we suspend the license for 90 days. But if they provide us with the responsible vendor training, they don't have to, but if they come back, then say it's only a week from now or 3 weeks from now, then we will end the suspension at that time. So it would be their decision to either wait out the 90 days or take the responsible vending class and provide proof of that. Is that legal?
The $1,500, according to our city charter here, is that I believe that has to be paid within 7 days. So you may want to do a lesser amount, and I'm not sure how long it would take them to submit to, if that's readily available, if that's something they can just go sign up for tomorrow or not, I don't know.
Does anyone know, is that class easy to get into and quick to do, or?
The state offers several vendors for them to go through.
Well, and I would say the $1,500 fine's not negotiable still. They pay that $1,500 fine, period, whether they've done the responsible vendor or not, but have 90 days to take that course, or to either choose to take that course or a 90-day suspension would be my.
So are you saying the suspension would start right away, or
Yep, immediately.
if they don't take it, then there's
It
a
would
suspension
suspend
after 90
immediately
days?
until that course is taken and we have proof that it's been taken.
And it would end whenever they took the course?
If they choose to do it, or it would end in 90 days.
Okay, can you read that motion?
Motion to assess a fine of $1,500 and suspend the license for 90 days. If the responsible vendor training is completed prior to 90 days, the suspension will be lifted at that time. Yep. I'm good with that.
There's a motion, and we have a second by Mr. Miles.
Could I
Understand the second.
address the board on this here? I just want to make it clear on this in terms of what the guidelines say here. Under the non-responsible vendors and all other, it says for first offense, the beer board may offer a permit holder who is not qualified as a responsible vendor the alternative of paying a civil penalty not to exceed $1,500 for the first offense of making or permitting to be made any sales to minors, or a civil penalty not to exceed $1,000 for any other offense on that. And then it says if the civil penalty is offered as an alternative to revocation or suspension, the holder has 7 days within which to pay the civil penalty. So I think it's an either-or situation. I think you can either suspend or you can do an alternative of a fine of up to $1,500, but then it has to be paid within 7 days.
I'd say, let me change my motion. Motion to suspend the license for 90 days. If the responsible vendor training is completed prior to 90 days, the suspension will be lifted at that time.
I didn't understand the difference in your two motions.
No.
$1,500.
Took the fine off. It's going to cost more than $1,500 to be suspended. So, this is something I take serious, and I want anybody else watching this to know that you don't sell alcohol to minors, period, and you check the license, and that would be my motion.
Let me read one more time. I believe I'm reading the same thing that Attorney Giffen has written. But for non-responsible vendors, which is what we have, for the first offense, the beer board may offer a permit holder who is a non-qualified and responsible vendor the alternative of paying a civil penalty not to exceed $1,500 for the first offense. And that's essentially all it says.
Well, it says, though, also, Mr. Mayor, though, under it, it says that the imposition of penalties shall be within the sole discretion of the board. The guidelines, these are guidelines amount on this. The beer board may add any conditions to any penalties, including but not limited to probation or additional training of employees. So I think what Alderman Berry is saying is within the purview of the board in that regard. These were guideline amount set forth in this, but it's up to them in terms of whether you want to submit in additional training. But then for the first offense, you can do this alternative to pay a civil penalty of not to exceed $1,500.
Okay, please state your motion for the clerk one more time.
Motion to suspend the license for 90 days. If responsible vendor training is completed prior to 90 days, the suspension will be lifted at that time.
We have a second. Any other question from the board? Everybody ready to vote?
If they want to put forth any statement to the board on this.
Shouldn't they be allowed to have, to say
Oh,
something?
yeah.
I'm coming to you guys from a citizen and business standpoint. I sold the store to the current owners 2 years ago. The current manager they have in place had passed the previous test. There's lots of third-party vendors that you can go through for the state for that. When I sold them the store, that manager is still in place, and they inherited the clerks that I had. So I know at one time those are good for 5 years. I just wanted to kind of express it. And the other thing is, you know, the software is in place. I know what they have there, but you can't be at a store 24 hours a day. If somebody wants to go around the software and put in a birth date, I think the punishment should maybe be a little stiffer on the clerk and make them be held accountable. But if you want to require them to do the responsible vendor, then maybe that should be part of the licensing process. But I just wanted to get up and just kind of speak on their behalf. When I sold that store, the manager currently in place and the clerks that they inherited from me had passed it at that point. I'd be more than happy to provide that from the previous ones. I don't know how many of those are still working.
But the current owners have not, correct?
The current owners have
Have
not.
not.
So the clerks,
It doesn't matter what the previous owners have done, it's the current owners that are,
but the certificate follows the clerk, not the owner.
so if they provide that, then
Right.
the suspension will be lifted.
Is that something you have?
I mean, I have it on the previous clerks, but not under their ownership.
I think they need to provide this.
They just asked me to speak, me being the previous owner, I was just trying to give some clarity on that, that's all.
Thank you.
And I'm, just for language barrier, I'm helping her here. What they would like to offer is pay the fine. If you give them 30 days they will go for the training, but do not suspend their license. 30 days, if they haven't provided it, then suspend their license. You know, yeah, and they'll pay the $1,500 tonight.
I think that's fair. I think that's a better way of approaching this.
Rescind your motion?
Yep. This happens again, I'm here.
They totally understand, and they feel the same way. They run a top-notch business, you know, on the Brothers and the One Stop out here. They've been just great people of the city. They trust me, they don't like it any, and they have reprimanded the employee because they said, you know, the rule is to card anyone and everyone, and they totally understand that.
Would care to revise their motion?
Yep. I'd like to substitute the motion to assess a fine of $1,500 and require them to complete the responsible vendor training within 30 days.
Or they'll be.
Or you'll be suspended
Yes. Yes.
after 30 days.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
there's the motion, and do we got a second? Motion by Barry, seconded by Mathis, motion by Mathis, seconded by Barry. Vote on the motion.
Right.
Give the check.
The vote passes 5-0. So you pay the fine and start your responsible vendor training.
Now, the second matter involves Girish Patel at West Lincoln Market. This also involves Investigator Taylor. Investigator Taylor, this incident is basically identical to the previous one there. Did you and the TABC conduct a minor compliance check on March the 9th of 2024?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of that, if you would tell the board what happened.
We went to West Lincoln Market the same night, accompanied TABC. The minor went in, accompanied by one of the TABC agents, purchased an alcoholic beverage, and was not asked for an identification.
And you witnessed the fact that they did not ask for or request any ID, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is Girish Patel here? Well, Mr. Patel, let me ask you, do you have a copy of your responsible vendor certification?
No, I didn't have a copy, but talked to the Miss Laurie and she provided me the link. So already went through that responsible wine vendor program, and they have a dates online available, which is April 12th or something. So by the time they will probably, I will complete it that on April 12th.
Mr. Mayor, that's our proof in this matter as well.
Same motion.
Same motion.
They taking the course?
Same second. Motion by Mann, second by Barry. There you go. It passes 5-0. You'll pay a $1,500 fine and start your responsible vendor program. And you'll complete it within 30 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, officer. There's no other unfinished business with the beer board, so we'll close the beer board. We'll go back into the regular agenda for the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. So the agenda's been approved, so we'll get our reports from Alderman. I'll start with Alderman Berry.
I have nothing to report, Mayor, but I would ask the board to speak clearly and slowly tonight so that hopefully the paper will get the headlines right.
I have nothing to report.
Alderman Mann.
I have nothing to report.
Alderman Mann.
This past week, I attended our first Food Truck Friday. Despite the cold weather, we had quite a few folks turn out. The food truck vendors seem happy and the turnout, with the turnout, and special thank you to all the trucks that participated, to our Parks and Rec, our Planning and Codes, City Administrator, and especially our new Community Engagement Officer, Emma Cook, for pulling it all together. Hope everyone will continue to come out and support this event. It's every Friday from 11 to 6 p.m. I also attended the Piping on the Green at South Jackson. If you didn't, please mark your calendars for next year. It's an outstanding event, lots to do, great food and drink, vendors, music. It's a real draw for our city. A lot of the folks I spoke to were actually from out of town, so that's always a big plus for Tullahoma. And then finally, I just wanted to extend my sympathies to the family of Judd Matheny. Mayor Matheny was a great leader for this community, both as county mayor and his 16 years as state representative. Judd was a brilliant guy whose passion and for public service was evident in every conversation that I ever had with him. And when I saw him a little less than 2 weeks ago, we talked about our charter. He asked what all was going on in Tullahoma. He genuinely was a county mayor for all of Coffee County, and I know we will all miss him and his leadership greatly.
As a follow-on to Alderman Mann's comments about Mayor Matheny, I would like to take this point in time for simply a moment of silence to remember Judd Matheny and his desire for cooperation between our cities and counties. So join me in a moment of silence for Judd. Thank you all. I have been serving for the last 2 months as the liaison to the Tullahoma Housing Authority. And then, in that respect, I have a couple of announcements to make tonight concerning appointments to that board. I appointed John Gray to serve an unexpired term ending in October 2027. He's accepted that and has been attending those meetings. I announced the mayoral appointment of Ariel McGee to serve the unexpired term of, it's going to be ending October in 2026, and she'll be a representative from the Housing Authority. The board has to have always one representative on there from the Housing Authority itself. And I will announce also that the interim head of the Housing Authority was removed from her position last Thursday night. So a search has started to fill that position. So at this time, I'll ask our city attorney, who is vacationing somewhere, but Mike Giffen is here. Could you give us a word, Mike?
Fortunately, you have no report.
No report, I like those short reports. Our city attorney, city administrator, excuse me.
I do have a report from our city attorney, Steve Worsham. He's enjoyed the eclipse today. He called me about that and was very excited. So he is now on his way to Branson, Missouri. So anyway, he said he's sorry he missed us. I too want to express sympathies towards Judd's family, his children, his mother. He was a great Coffee County and a great advocate for our city, and he will definitely be sorely missed. I enjoyed our friendship over the years, but able to work with him in this role was definitely something I truly appreciated. I also want to give kudos to John Glass and to our first responders. As many of our citizens saw, we had an unfortunate accident at the airport where an airplane came within 8 feet of striking our building, which would have been catastrophic for our airport, obviously. But was able to witness so many of our first responders from fire, from the police, but also from Coffee County Emergency Management and FAA. So it was just great to see how in times of need they come together and very quickly and were able to get that situation under control. Was able to attend the electronic vehicle charging station ribbon cutting that was held alongside the TUA and Alan Potter. That's something good for those that are not aware. It's located on Southwest Atlantic Street next to the bookshelf and the dry cleaner. So hopefully if you're in need of those services, you'll be able to go out and find those. Also had a meeting, Emma Cook and I had a meeting with TUA and Light Tube. Was able to get her introduced, and they seem to be forming a very strong relationship that's going to allow us to be able to explain more about the things that are going on within Tullahoma, all the programs and activities that we have. So looking forward to seeing that grow. Also was able to spend time with John Gray on one of his television shows talking about city affairs. Last Friday, the mayor, you did not talk about your legislative breakfast that you hosted. That we had Senator Bowling and we had Representative Bricken, and it was great to see so many people from our town to come out and talk about all of the things that are going on and being able to share that information with them. Farmers Market opened last Monday, was going today. Food Truck Fridays, again, that's going to be every Friday. So I was really pleased with the turnout, as were the vendors, for such a cloudy and cold day. So we're looking forward to having brighter days and seeing that grow. The last is I was able to attend a meeting with Arnold Air Force Base along with Charles Rush. The mayor was in attendance, and a lot of our officials from Coffee County looking to talk about enhanced use lease and some perhaps surplus land that is available that Arnold is interested in making sure that we could hopefully use for economic development, Coffee County could use for some of their county administrative needs. That's my report.
Let me backtrack just a little bit. We've overlooked Mr. Chance Cox, that's our honorary alderman here tonight. And Chance is 11th grade, 16 years old, a member of the Tullahoma High School band. Chance, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what your plans are for the future.
I'm in student council, I'm in the band, and I'm looking forward to joining a lot of other organizations at my school. In the future, I'm looking to go to college for pharmaceuticals, and I'm really excited about that. Right now at the high school, some great things are happening. Student council is getting ready for elections, which I'm happy to be a part of, and the Mayor's Youth Council and Student Council are coming together to restore the outdoor classroom with the help of the CTE classes and other organizations. The band is getting ready for our spring concert, and we're going to have a percussion recital in May, which I'm excited about. I think that's all for right now. Thank you.
How about joining me at the flag? We got a picture of you with this certificate. Congratulations, Chance. I bet you'll be very successful. Thank you. Let's move into the consent agenda. Need a motion. Motion from Gary, second by Mann for the consent agenda. Questions? Ready to vote. Consent agenda passes 5-0. Turning over to unfinished business. The unfinished business, order number 1627. It's an ordinance to amend the mobile food vending truck for business and peddlers and solicitors. That's, we had this come before us last week on first reading, so we're ready for passage on passage on second reading this time. Second time. Need a motion. Motion for Barry, second by Mann. Questions on the food truck? Ready to vote.
I think we must have failed to explain this last time, or the packet wasn't read. There was recently, what this does, we passed a motion or an ordinance in January that established a food truck ordinance to where we would check mobile vendors, make sure that they're all here. Since that time, this board, members of this board, and our planning director and our city administrator have been talking with residents and citizens and spending time with food truck vendors. And I had talked with Director Rush and Administrator Quick at kind of the culmination of this, and we've taken the feedback that we got from residents and that we got from food truck vendors, and we made some adjustments to our existing ordinance. It just chaps my rear a little bit when I read some of these headlines in the newspaper, and this is one of those that did, because this is an ordinance that makes things better. We passed something, we listened, we went through, we got rid of some of the requirements that would have prevented things like piping on the green from happening, and would have prevented your neighborhood from having a food truck in. So we took the time to listen and make amendments, and those are the kind of, so I guess we missed the boat on explaining that last time somewhere. So I wanted to take that opportunity to hopefully maybe this, when it gets out to the public, they'll get this right this time. So.
Any further comments? Ready to vote. Passes 5-0. No other unfinished business. Moving into new business, ordinance number 2447. Consider a request from the Parks and Rec to approve conditions in the contract with CH and commercial contractors for the construction on Johnson Lane Recreation Center, the pavilion, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. The amount is $768,195. Need a motion. Motion by Barry, second by Glick. Any question on that? We had some discussion on it last week. Any further discussion? Ready to vote. Passes 5-0. Number 28, 2448, consider a request from the Finance Department to declare surplus items in order they may be sold, scrapped, donated, or otherwise disposed of in any other appropriate means. Details of that list of surplus items are on page 104. I've been through it, and most of that stuff needs to have been surplus a long time ago. We've got a motion from Barry, Kurt, seconded by Glick. Any questions on the surplus items? Not ready to vote. Passes 5-0. Item number 2449, consider a request from the Tullahoma Fire Department to approve the fire department to initiate funding for the purchase of a Safe Haven baby box, $22,000 initial cost, and that's the installation, then with an annual fee of $500 per year. Details on 106. Motion from Alderman Berry, seconded by Alderman Motion from by Mann, seconded by Barry. Question on the baby box heard from the police department last week on that, and earlier this morning, or this evening, additional information on it. And we're ready to vote.
Actually, I pressed my button. I'd like to make
It's not showing up.
I'd like to make a motion to substitute the original motion for the following. To authorize the Tullahoma Fire Department to proceed with the purchase and installation of a safe haven baby box at an initial cost of $22,000, and to further authorize an annual allocation of $500 for maintenance and operational fees associated with the equipment, with funds coming from the general fund.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. The only details of that is where the $500 per year comes from.
General fund.
General fund.
That's it. That's the motion, it wasn't in the original motion.
What's it for?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Voting on the amendment.
I don't have a problem with it, but I was just wondering what the $500 annual fee covers.
That's the monitoring.
It's actually for kind of a warranty type deal. They also, if they fix anything, the brakes on it, bring it back in. It is part of the monitoring that's on it as well. And it's just a $500 fee each year for them to and as long as we didn't just beat it up and break it, they'll fix whatever breaks on it.
You ready to vote on the amendment? Amendment passes 5-0. Ready to vote on the original motion as amended. Need a motion on, ready to vote on the original motion.
Yeah.
Voting on the original motion as amended. It passes 5-0. Item number 2450, consider a request from the Tullahoma Fire Department to approve the updated memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the Coffee County Emergency Medical Services, EMS, authorizing the mayor to sign and the fire chief to execute the MOU. Motion? Motion from Mann, seconded by Mathis. Any questions on the MOU? Ready to vote on the MOU? Passes 5-0. Item number 2451. Consider approval of a request from the Tullahoma Fire Department to submit a grant application for the staffing of adequate fire and emergency response grants. Details on 129. Motion from Barry, second by Mann, on the fire department grant. Any question? Ready to vote? Passes 5-0. Item number 2452, consider request from Parks and Rec to approve bids and authorize the mayor to execute contract with Four Seasons to mow the specified park locations in Marshall's lawn landscape mow as needed services. Details of that on page 209. Motion from Barry, second by Mann. Ready to vote. Passes 5-0. Item number 2453, consider request from Parks and Rec to approve the bid selection and authorize the mayor to execute tree service agreement with Woody's, and that's now Ray Gillum, since Mr. Woody's passed away, for the tree and arbor service for the city and the direction of the city forester. Motion from Barry, seconded by Mann. Any discussion? Ready to vote? 5-0. Last item on our agenda tonight this is 2454. It's for discussion only. A proposal for the establishment of a comprehensive ordinance governing allocation of the use of city funds. And, Alderman Berry, is that your motion? Is that your item?
Yes.
Talk to us about it.
So I put this on here for us to kind of talk about and just kind of put some thoughts before I go through and draft an ordinance similar to the one we talked about last week. We do, in any money that we allocate out there, there's no kind of real strict guidelines. We have some applications, we talk about some things, and it's not about being strict, it's just making sure that our money, which is taxpayer money, is going where it needs to be. And it's kind of laid out, number one, so that it sets expectations for those receiving the money and expectations for the city itself. We do have two different kind of groups. One's nonprofits and one are tourism dollars, and they're both kind of separate, right? Nonprofit money comes from our general fund budget, money that we allocate. Tourism dollars come from our hotel, motel tax dollars. This has been a big issue in the legislature this year, and will continue to kind of be an issue. There's a House Bill 2240 and Senate Bill 1676 that is introduced would require the municipality levying the hotel motel tax under general law. We're private act, but we'll still have to report to comptroller to submit annually a report that details how the revenue earned from the hotel motel tax is used by our municipality. And it'll require the comptroller of the treasury to audit these reports of the municipality, and requires the municipality found. Ours will be a little bit different, Sue, because we are a private act. So this part here wouldn't technically apply to us at this point. Municipalities found to have used the funds improperly to appropriate general funds of the same amount for promotion of tourism development, and would prohibit, the 8% was actually stricken from there in a, so coming from the state is going to be, we'll have to start accounting for where we're spending these hotel motel tax dollars. And so to kind of set our expectations and theirs, the idea is to, let's put this in writing so that it's out there, everybody knows. And I didn't create copies, but I wanted to get you guys' thoughts as, you know, we talk about who's eligible, who's not eligible, what expenses are eligible, what expenses are not eligible, general requirements. If you're receiving money from the city of Tullahoma, you should have our logo out there. You should have sought out other grants, and we should know what other grants that you're applying for. Just different things like that, and more information on your projects. And when you do receive monies from, we get this report kind of every year, but sometimes I think they need to be maybe a little bit more detailed, and this ordinance would kind of lay that out to say, hey, you know, when you get your money either quarterly from us or monthly from us, we need to get a report that comes back and says, and this is standard of any grant you do, if you receive anything from the state of Tennessee or anything from the federal government, you've got to line item those pieces. And so that's my general thoughts behind this, but I wanted to get your thoughts before I started drafting this ordinance.
I think you pushed your button, but I don't see it showing up on my screen here, so that's all right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of well thought out what you had, and I just kind of add to that a little bit. I had the same kind of ideas myself about what we could do. I was looking at the budget that Ms. Wilson was nice enough to provide us, and saw that it's about divided equally. It's about $150,000 in the ones that goes just to nonprofits, and then the one that goes to tourism. So there's two different pools of money, both about $150,000. So my thoughts were to kind of divide it up and operate it kind of like a grant that the city provides to everybody. Just like the city applies for a lot of state and federal grants, we fill out an application, submit a project, and it goes into a competitive grant process. So my idea for the first pool of money that is right now is just obligated to nonprofits or just earmarked for nonprofits only. That money could be used for projects or operating expenses or different kinds of things. It'd be a lot more leeway in that area, in that set of money. The second set, the tourism grant money, I would submit could be still in the competitive grant process, but that money would be earmarked for a tourism project. So it would be a special project that needs to occur within that budget year to attract tourism to Tullahoma. And you'd write it up and submit it, and then it would be chosen as a competitive basis. We could, and I haven't thought out all the implications on the amounts of these grants, but we could set a maximum amount that the grant could be, and so we could assure ourselves that we could give it to a few different people if they all ask for the maximum amount of money. Say, so it's $150,000, we could say the maximum of $50,000 or the maximum of $25,000 or something like that, and we could get a few more in. But those are just my thoughts. I'd be interested to hear everybody else's.
I'd like to hear from the finance director and the city administrator, your thoughts on this.
Sue?
I guess my first thought would be on some of the things that we do pay, things like insurance and utilities and things like that. I would want to make sure we continue to do on the agencies that we are doing that with. And that I think that we'd want to look at where we've been funding so far to make sure we didn't do anything abrupt either that would make it difficult for some of these agencies maybe to change course from where they're at now as to how you maybe implement this.
From my perspective, I do like the idea of the grant thought process as far as projects, things that we can see that are tangible, that are attracting tourists, that are attracting visitors, business. We talked about business visitors. We have quite a few of those coming as well. I do like that idea of being able to have something that we can watch, see, develop, and grow, as opposed to, just handing out money, so to speak, and not really sure where it goes and what came of that. So I think that would be something I would look forward to looking into deeper.
Let me point out that many of these nonprofits that we are going to be listening to tonight do not have a professional grant writing staff. And for many of them to present a substantive grant proposal may be a challenge. So we may need to consider different levels of nonprofits that we offer grants to.
Well, I wouldn't have any kind of complicated process, but it needs to at least describe what they want to do with the money they receive, I think. I mean, it just is a simple basis, and I don't think it needs to be anything elaborate. I know from working with the city and applying for a lot of grants over the years, some of them were more complicated than the others. Some were way too complicated. And then some were just as they should be. And that's what I think we could have something relatively simple. But I think the most important part would be, what's your budget and what do you want to do? And I think most people could do that.
I agree with that. And in fact, I've been we've gone through all the nonprofits submittals that they've made this year. And we've asked those questions. How much money did we give you last year? What did you do with it? And what are you going to do with the money we're giving you next year? We've done that very thing. So I think we're well on the way to, and the write-ups that we've gotten have been quite good. So I've been impressed with it.
I agree. So a lot of that wouldn't change. It would just formalize the process.
Well, and there will be some who request that we don't fund. There will be some who we fund because we always have. And I think that is kind of arbitrary. And there are a ton of nonprofits out there that I'd love for us to see and give money to. All of them. There's none that I don't want to, right? And maybe it's a service that the city can help. This I think would open the door maybe to, we need to do some more outreach ourselves. Maybe it's not us giving money, but the city provides resources to work with these NPOs to say, hey, you know what, we're not able to do this, but here are different grants that are available to you specifically for you, and kind of help in that regard. I'd like to see us do that with businesses too, but so this would just be more to, and you're right, most of the questions, a lot of the questions are already asked in this. And this would just kind of be more of a more formal, here it is, it's in ordinance, it's not arbitrary, we're not making arbitrary decisions on who gets funded and who doesn't get funded, because I'll be on the other side of this in either 4 or 8 months, right? And I want to make sure that whoever's here, or we, it's not just because somebody gave me a list and I said, I'll just go for it, because I contribute to nonprofits on my own. And that's kind of a lesser concern. The tourism dollars are kind of the big thing for me, right? And I think we'll see tonight that there's, somebody's used the tools available from the state. And I had worked with Shelbyville, and they took a $20,000 grant, took $5,000 out of that, and they were able to recruit an event that has a 3.5, 4-day event that has almost $600,000 economic impact in those 3 days. And that's the kind of stuff that I would love to be seeing our tourism money doing, because that's really money that we're investing to make more money, not for the city, but for our local businesses, for our hotels, and for all those people. And so that's just kind of the general thought, is let's solidify what we've got and get it out there.
And the results could be tangible.
The results are, they're actual results with, this is how I'm marketing it, yeah.
Ms. Wilson, one other question for you. With the things that are coming down from the legislature this year regarding the hotel motel tax and the reporting that we're anticipating having to do, is that going to be particularly onerous or different than what we're already doing?
It'd be something new that we're not doing now, but the state likes to keep adding new reporting responsibilities every year, so I'm not surprised. We'll just have to wait till we get them.
Thank you. Survey.
Just so I'm clear on this is what you're looking to do with this, the ordinance you would be looking to write up, it would be for next year. It wouldn't impact anything we're talking about right now, or would it? And I say right now, what we're about to start talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be our decision at the time on whether, I would say it may be a little late and unfair in the process.
Because I think going back to what Ms. Wilson said, with some of these folks, it would really be pulling, the rug out from under them at the last minute to.
Yeah, and to that, I've always kind of had the stance of, with our NPOs, we need to, and Jason and Sue, I think they did a great job this year in getting some of these evaluation tools for us, and that's a great step in the right direction, is we should be finding gaps in services that the city provides, right? If it's a service that benefits, it shouldn't benefit a small group, it needs to benefit a large group in an area that we shouldn't be, the government shouldn't be funding certain things, right? It's up to the nonprofits and the churches and local people. And so with that, I also don't feel that an NPO should be able to stand on its own, right? And not be counting on our money. But to your point, it is a little late in the game for us to pull that rug and slide it out from under them. And I'm hopeful that there's none out there that are counting on this. But anyway, I just wanted to get thoughts.
Okay.
It'll probably be 2 separate ordinances.
Very good. In that this is a discussion item, I think we could discuss it for another couple of hours, but we've got a fairly lengthy agenda ahead of us. So is there any other burning thoughts that anyone has that they want to get on the table? If not, we'll close the discussion on 2441, and since there's no other new business, we'll adjourn the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. We've already done the beer board, so at this time, if we could, we'll adjourn the Board of Mayor and Alderman. We'll go in directly into a study session.